Welcome back everyone to AFTV and welcome to the Tactical Insight Show. I'm here with Graham to break down Arsenal's 2-2 draw with Liverpool. He had some highs, had some lows and had plenty of controversial points as well. But what did Arsenal do tactically in this game that allowed us to get some momentum again back into our football? Unfortunately we lost it in the second half. We're going to break it all down, but first I want to tell you a little bit about NordVPN. Now look, if Arteta is doing everything he can to protect Arsenal's tactics from rival managers, you need to be doing the same with your online life. That's where NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro comes in. This feature blocks malware, it stops you from landing on dodgy sites, and it even scans files while they are currently downloading. And what's more, NordVPN is giving AFTV viewers an exclusive, that's right, exclusive offer where you can grab 4 extra months on a 2-year plan. Just go to nordvpn.com/AFTV or click the link in the description below. So whether you're streaming the match or kicking back and watching a show, NordVPN's got your back. And trust me, the feature is a game changer. Stay protected like Arsenal's backline and enjoy browsing with peace of mind. And it's all risk-free with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee. So be sure to check out this deal at nordvpn.com/AFTV. Thank you to NordVPN for powering this video. And now let's get on with the show. As we said, Arsenal drew with Liverpool 2-2. I was deflated, I was disappointed, I felt we could have won that game. Things happened in the game that we have to obviously talk about, Graham. But Arsenal also did show that we're still a good side in large parts of that game. Graham, what do you make of it? Ultimately, a decent point, or does it feel like 2 points dropped?
It's a difficult game to analyse from an Arsenal point of view, James. It was a game that we couldn't afford to lose. Appeared to be on course to win. Ultimately drew, but then could have nicked at the death.
Yeah.
First half, I thought Arsenal were really dominant.
Yeah.
Deserved to be ahead.
Yeah.
Should have been ahead by more. The right-hand side was really cooking, and I know we're going to go into that today. But second half, it felt like, particularly the Gabriel injury for me was a key part of the game. It felt like at times we were almost like in the trenches, defending like we were at Man City again. And ultimately, I think Liverpool were always likely to get back in the game. And I think in the end, both sides will see it as probably chances missed. And I think the ultimate winners on the day were Manchester City. Yeah,
that's a very good way to sum it up. I mean, we're having a debate on Forever Arsenal about whether Liverpool were there for the taking. I said, well, weren't Arsenal there for the taking? When you look at the defenders we had on the pitch and missing Ødegaard, Saka was only just back, Timber can only play an hour. Having said that though, you're right, City are the real winners because they look at both of us dropping points in games that either of us could easily have won. So, yeah, City will undoubtedly be the happier of the two teams. Let's go through the match stats. Arsenal had 9 shots to Liverpool's 9. They had 1 extra on target with 54% of possession, or nearly 55, for Liverpool. They completed about 60-70 more passes, but we just out-XG'd them. You get what I'm saying. 1.14 to 1.10. Now, in terms of the attacking stats, nothing in it in terms of final third entries. Yeah, we had more deep touches than them. So 14 touches even as well, and a slightly better field tilt for Arsenal, which shows maybe with less possession, maybe did a little bit more of the possession we did have. Defensive stats, 17 tackles to their 16, 10 interceptions to their 6, 28 clearances to their 19, and 8.9 passes of defensive action to their 9.4, which shows that there was an urgency to our defending as well, which I think went a little bit under the radar. A lot of people, a lot of narrative after about whether Arsenal and Arteta are trying to be more Mourinho in the way they try to win the title. And I just think, if you look at that first half, listen, Mourinho did have some good attacking sides, but the point is, we're not this negative, boring side all the time. I thought we were very much on the front foot against Liverpool, especially in that first half.
Yeah, I think the second half started, there was a lot of stoppages in play at the start of the second half. 1 or 2 players going down, 1 or 2 Arsenal players going down. It seemed to sort of like, then the intensity went out of the game. I think because of that. But then obviously to lose Gabriel, who had been having already gone to the game without William Saliba. Remember, this was Arsenal's 6th different back 4 in 9 Premier League games this season. So to lose Gabriel, I thought was a massive part of the game. Kivior came on, and to be fair, he's a good defender, but he's not the level of Gabriel. And ultimately, I thought he was slightly at fault in their equaliser late on. But I just thought the second half, when you're playing, there's 2 really top sides. You're not going to dominate the whole of the football match, and they were behind in the game. The onus was on them. I thought the one thing I thought about Arteta was in that second half, and I don't want to criticise him too much, but Slot made 3 changes in the 63rd minute. He totally changed their left-hand side. He brought on Gakpo, he brought on Szoboszlai, who I thought, strangely, didn't start the game for me, because he's their key player, I think, between the lines. And so when he came on, I thought they started to look better. So could we have done something to adjust in the game? The players, for all that, put in a great shift.
Yeah, they did.
And I just think, in the end, we defended quite well. But as the game drifted on, we had to make changes. Obviously, Timber went down with cramp as well. We brought 2 young players on who both did really well in the game towards the end. And ultimately, Liverpool were pushing. And in the end, it's that one moment where Trent floats a ball, which Kivior makes a decision to try and cut it out, and he doesn't. Yeah. And then the thing about that goal, James, is that Núñez is going one way, so Salah's always going to cut inside. The moment he doesn't collect that ball, and he made a choice to try and cut it out, Ben White has then got to come across and leave Salah, because Núñez is coming into the box, and that frees up Salah for the equaliser. But ultimately, I think, could we have been more offensive in the second half? I think the players gave so much into the first half and should have been more goals ahead. Ultimately, in the second half, I think Liverpool are always going to come back into the game, and I don't think we had enough on the bench to really freshen it up.
I was slightly annoyed by some of the narrative after. It is a fact that Arsenal were more defensive in the second half than the first half. Could Arsenal have done more to get on the ball and attack the opposition and make Liverpool, think about what was going the other way? Yes, I do think that. But I do think we need to understand and try and explore why ultimately Arsenal have been put in this position. We've got here on the tactical pad, right? Let's just show Arsenal in a 4-4-2. Basically, since Ødegaard's been out, we've played a 4-4-2, and we've asked Kai Havertz to try and drop into those pockets a little bit more. We're going to talk about it in more detail, because I actually think that's a bit of a problem. But when you've got Liverpool's shape here, if we just move Liverpool up the pitch a little bit here, and you've got Jones, who was sort of pressing, because they press in a 4-2-4, don't they?
4-2-4, they press in, yeah.
Yes, they can, something like that, right? Arsenal, on the other hand, was sort of matching up to that 4-2-4. And when you go man for man, when you are trying to suffocate a team as good as Liverpool, you basically need athletes on the pitch. Yeah. You need players like Partey, which is why he went to right back. You need Mourinho and Rice to cover the ground in midfield. Yeah. You need Timber at left back as well. That's why I think it was so crucial that he was available. We didn't go for someone like Zinchenko or Miles Lewis-Skelly from the start at left back. So these individual battles for me are so important. So my question is, if this is what's been working basically, and by the way, it was actually more Gabriel on Núñez, but you get my point, right? The point is, we're going for this physical battle. We're trying to be really aggressive on Liverpool. And the best way to do that is to have your most physical players. The minute Kivior and Lewis-Skelly come on, and they are not as physically commanding as Gabriel and Timber, they factually aren't, though I thought Lewis-Skelly did very well, I feel like you've got to naturally protect them a little bit more, because it's not their strength. And that is what sets the tone for our high press and our attacking football in the first half.
Yeah, there's almost like an argument as the game drifted on, maybe not to sort of like be as attacking as we were in that last period, where you think about the goal we conceded, Martinelli is pushing on down that side, and he gets taken away from him, and Lewis-Skelly is forward out of position really, because he's gone to support Martinelli. And then there's the space in behind. So you could argue that basically the fact that we didn't have the players who can cover the ground quickly, the physical players, did give Liverpool that opportunity to break. But I think ultimately, when you look back on it, he went with the right formation at the start. I think Partey can't jump from 6 to 8 as well as Rice. That's why Rice played for the press with Mourinho. But to keep that going for 90 minutes, and with the changes you have to make in a game, you're going to get players cramped up. The fact that we had players coming back from injuries, you're probably always going to face that scenario, James. It's almost inevitable it was going to happen, and it would have been very difficult to know what he could have done, because you're up against Liverpool got an elite front line, and we limited them to 4 shots on target in that game, which is quite a performance. So you could argue that Liverpool forwards probably didn't do as well as what they could have done. So it was very difficult, I think, to maintain that man-for-man press with the physicality you want for 90 minutes and the players you have to bring on. I think we managed it the best we could. But Liverpool are a very talented side and are ultimately always going to create. And in the end, they found a way, didn't they?
And one of the players that had to come in and be a big part of that defence was Thomas Partey. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. He actually sent me some of his numbers. I mean, basically, most duels won in the game, 13, most tackles won with 4, and the most Arsenal touches. So we talked about not wanting to move him to right back because we still want him on the ball. Well, he had loads of the ball anyway. And as you said, 50% of Arsenal's attacks in that first half went down the right-hand side. It's where the first goal comes from, which we're going to break down in a second. But Partey still had a real big impact on the game out of position.
I think it was one of his best games in an Arsenal shirt, James. I thought a lot of people were worried about him playing right back in this game, but I thought Arteta did something really good in this game with Thomas Partey, because obviously you're worried about Luis Diaz, and that right-hand side in the first half was actually cooking, as I said, because there were 3 things happening on that right-hand side in the first half. Number one was really what Partey was doing, and he was inverting into midfield, which was pulling Luis Diaz into midfield when we built up. And then Kai Havertz was very cleverly, he was playing almost like 8, 9 and 10 in that game. He was a left-sided 8, he was a number 9, he at times was a number 10. And he was drifting out to the right-hand side to support Bukayo Saka in the absence of Martin Odegaard. The other important thing I think that Arsenal did really well was the way they used Leonardo Trossard. He was dropping into the middle to receive the ball, but he's also going up tight against their centre-halves. He was almost like, at times, playing a false 9. So Liverpool had problems in where to pick up our players in that game. The right-hand side was really where Arsenal were causing them a lot of problems in that first half against Robertson, who a lot of people were talking about he's not the defender he was. And we saw evidence in that in the first goal, in the way that Ben White curls a delicious ball over the top. Then Bukayo Saka, back from injury, lifted the roof off the place with that piece of skill. The way he takes the ball, the way he controls it, the nutmeg and the finish, world-class quality.
Yeah, it really, really was. Let's touch on what you just said about Kai Havertz then. We'll break down that Saka goal and his numbers. I mean, what we've got here is Kai Havertz's heat map, his touch map. Starting with his heat map, you're so right. I mean, so far out to that right-hand side, which I've complained about this on a video I did on the Goonverse. Like, for me, I don't know any other team that moves their number 9 and they're one of their biggest goal threats out of position so much. It's really strange to me that, you know, in the absence of Odegaard, our solution has actually been to mess around with the 9 position rather than just get Trossard to get into those pockets. So I've been a little bit disappointed on that front. But again, I kind of get it because, you know, when you actually look at some of the passes he received through the lines, they were absolutely terrific. I mean, it's gone purple in here. You know, some of the passes he received through the lines, you can see how he was helping to knit play from back to front. But I'm also seeing him then cross the ball. And I'm seeing him on the touchline with Trossard in the box against Konate and Van Dijk, and I'm wishing it's Havertz making some of those runs when Martinelli does cut it across goal. So that was frustrating. You can see that in some of his touches as well here. Kai Havertz, again, lots them out to the right-hand side. But where we did have real success out on the right was, like you said, Thomas Partey, that pass from Ben White and Bukayo Saka. Let's watch this goal. I'm going to get up here on the tactical pad. Saka's goal against Liverpool. I mean, for me, what I love about this from Ben White was when Saliba was missing, everyone basically thought, that's it, absolute disaster. You know, Ben White's still a very good player, and he had a very good debut season, in my opinion, at centre-back for Arsenal. And the one thing that Ben White does give you that maybe Saliba doesn't, and Saliba's fantastic on the ball in terms of his touch, dribbling ability, but Ben White's passing and that way to pass is no secret. We've seen that before. And it's a lovely, lovely scoop pass over the top here to Bukayo Saka. And then I'm going to let it play. I mean, you've all watched the rest, you've all seen the goals. But Saka and Ben White have had that understanding for a long, long time now. And we've seen it more down on the right-hand side. But I love that as centre-back, we still had an element of it, and it gave us a really important first goal.
What I love about that finish is that he literally lifts it into the roof of the net, doesn't he? When he does the nutmeg and cuts in, it's a trademark finish of his now. You know, people are expecting him to go maybe across the goalkeeper, but he literally goes for power and he goes for height, and that was unstoppable. I thought a lot of Bukayo Saka's movements in that first half, Liverpool struggled to contain. He had an outstanding first half. The way he was shielding the ball, holding the ball, running with the ball, combining with Havertz. He had one great take on his left foot where he came inside and curled one narrowly wide. And it was just, it made me think in the stadium yesterday, watching him, how much he means to the team. Without him, how much we miss him. Yeah. There's just nobody that can do what he does. Yeah. And the way he was sort of like shielding the ball. He shields the ball so well away. His strength to hold off players. And McAllister was fouling him, and they just couldn't live with him, Liverpool, in that first half. He was outstanding in that first half. I think Slot played him a compliment, how good he was as well. And you know, that moment for me when he scored, just, you know, you felt it in the stadium. It was a massive moment, and I thought really we would go on from that. You know, it's almost like coming into the game worried about the team we were putting out, and there he is, our captain, back on the pitch, and that was his 50th goal for Arsenal in the Premier League.
Incredible. Should we go through those numbers actually?
Yeah,
I did have them down. I mean, which I managed to lose them here, but I know you've sent them. Let me show you these numbers first. Bukayo Saka versus the Big Six in the Premier League with 3 goals against Spurs and 3 assists against them too. He's got 5 goal contributions against Man United, 5 against Chelsea, 4 against Liverpool and 3 against City. That's 14 goals and 9 assists, 23 goal contributions in total against the traditional Big Six. We know he's obviously scored big goals at Villa Park as well, and in big games has delivered for us. Bayern Munich at home. This is a year ago when some people were putting him in the world class category, people said, but does he do it in the big games? But doing it for England at a World Cup, doing it for England at Euros, he's just phenomenal, and he is doing it in the big games, Graham.
He is, and I think his numbers that you've just read out there, he's only something like 23 years and 52 days, is it, now? And he's the youngest ever Arsenal player in the Premier League to reach 50 goals. And there's only about 5 or 6 players, the likes of Ronaldo, Rooney. That's the company that he's in that category. I think Harry Kane's in there.
Yeah, here it is. So youngest to score 50 Premier League goals.
Read these names out. This is the company he's in.
Yeah, Robbie Fowler, Michael Owen, Wayne Rooney, Romelu Lukaku, Cristiano Ronaldo, Harry Kane, and Bukayo Saka is the 7th youngest.
Yeah, it's great company, isn't it? And that just shows, you know, and I think, you know, I think that him captaining the team yesterday, it was a captain's performance in that first half. He was always going to tire because he wants to play, and I think he came back yesterday. I don't think he was quite 100%, but he just wants to be on the pitch, and I thought he was excellent in that first half.
Second half, we'll just talk about it. What do you think went wrong for Arsenal? Why did we spend so much on the back foot? I mean, I've said that I think when you remove profiles like Timber and Gabriel, you make it very difficult to adopt the same game plan as the first half because they are the platform from which we attack and press. But Arsenal still could have done more on the ball. It doesn't really explain why we got the ball into midfield, we didn't have the outlets and the movement in the front three that we did before. And then ultimately when they equalised, actually we looked the more likely to then go and get a winner. I thought Liverpool would build on that, but they didn't. It was Arsenal. So why couldn't we do more in that second half?
It might be a mentality thing. I think when you get ahead in a game like that, you're playing a top side. I thought the first half, Declan Rice was an absolutely monstrous performance for Declan Rice. I thought his driving, his breaking up a play, him and Mourinho were excellent in that first half. They had great first halves. I didn't think they could maintain it in the second half, and I think that why we didn't maintain it, I think, was on the Liverpool subs. I think that he had more options off the bench slot, and I think in the end it enabled Liverpool to get back in the game and get more of a foothold in the game and start pushing us back. He brought on Gakpo, he brought on Tsimikas on the left-hand side, and he brought on Szoboszlai, who then, I thought, started getting into spaces, pockets, and started making them tick better, which they weren't in the first half, because I thought McAllister and Gravenberch are very similar players, you could argue. Curtis Jones is the more forward player. But I thought Szoboszlai, for me, makes Liverpool tick, and I was surprised he didn't start yesterday. But when he came on, they started to get a grip of the midfield, which we couldn't wrestle back, and I don't think we had the quality to bring on that they had. So I think in the end, the subs made a difference. That's one of the reasons. And then, of course, the injury to Gabriel, well, I thought was massive.
Yeah,
massive in terms, I think, the confidence went slightly out of the team, because when you're already without Saliba, then you lose Gabriel, you're already without Calafiori, and you literally end up with the complete not first choice back line. I think then the natural inclination is to drop, and
not first choice. I mean, half of them weren't even second choices in those positions.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's hilarious. I mean, the point I was trying to make is you can have injuries, that's one thing, but when there's injuries in game that you're not expecting and you haven't obviously had time to prepare for it, Arsenal probably weren't expecting to end the game with Partey, White, Kivior and Lewis Skelly as their back four. That's ultimately the situation we're in, but Partey is behind Tomiyasu, Ben White and Timber in the pecking order, in no particular order, at right back. Ben White is probably the next in line at centre-back to Saliba. But Kivior's behind Calafiori as well at left centre-back. You've seen the way they've played when they have played together. It's been Calafiori left centre-back with Kivior on the right. Lewis Kelly's probably where he's ahead of Zinchenko now, but he could easily be behind Tomiyasu, Timber, Calafiori, maybe even, who else was there? Kivior at left back. You know, so we were really, really down to the bare bones in the defence.
I think we were really stretched at the end with the injuries, bodies and all that. I think also we stopped getting the ball out to Bukayo Saka on the right-hand side. His influence started to wane in the second half. So I think that ultimately, you know, I think he stayed on the pitch probably longer than he should have. I don't think he, you know, and I think Declan Rice couldn't maintain the hold in the midfield when Liverpool changed their midfield. So I think those were the battles. Liverpool started winning the key little battles in midfield and started to get more of a grip on the game. They have got some very good players, Liverpool.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, you know, Salah being very quiet, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he produces what he always tends to produce, Salah, doesn't he? Even when he's having a quiet game. So I think in the end, the fact that we went into the game with a lot of players coming back from injury, the fact that we had injuries in the game, the fact that Gabriel then went off and we had no Saliba and Gabriel, and also Timber cramped up and he went off, I think that had a massive outcome on the way the second half went, and ultimately, you know, why we couldn't hang on.
Yeah, totally agree. I'm glad you mentioned Declan Rice. I thought he was outstanding, especially in that first half. I thought Mikel Merino was great as well, and he's someone that Nicolas Jova is going to enjoy working with, let's put it that way. I mean, another goal from a set piece, but one that we threatened not long earlier in that game. And then eventually it came through. So, yeah, Arsenal went 2-1 up thanks to Mikel Merino. I thought he was brilliant as well.
Yeah, I think he's starting to understand the triggers, when to press. He's starting to understand the setup, the movement, the fluid rotations, and he looked really good in this game. It was a strange sort of game because it sort of like was a good game, and you wanted to sort of like come out there thinking that this was a 2-2 draw, a good game of football, but ultimately you came out again talking about the referee, and I think we have to talk about some of those incidents briefly yesterday. I think at the moment, as an Arsenal fan, I just feel every 50-50 decision's going against us on the pitch. You know, Van Dijk kicking out at Havertz, you know, nothing happened. Diaz kicking the ball away, nothing happened. The penalty incident in the stadium, I thought it was a penalty. When I watched it back last night, I must admit, I wasn't sure.
One angle makes Konate look like he's won the ball cleanly.
Yeah.
Then one angle makes it look like he's gone nowhere near it.
Yeah.
So a third angle would have been nice.
Yeah. So, you know, but then obviously at the end when we're pushing at 2-2, when Kivior's in the air and he wins the header, then Kai gets up and flicks it onto the bar, and ultimately we put it in. But Taylor is blowing for a foul long before it hits the bar, and I thought referees were sort of like instructed to let the play out before they make a decision.
That's what I thought,
but he didn't, did he?
No.
But look, I'm not saying that wasn't a foul. I'm just saying that we didn't get the penalty, we didn't get that. Little instance went against us in the game, and it does feel that every 50-50 is going against us at the moment. But at the end of the day, I think you can't doubt the fighting spirit of the team. I was very proud of the team yesterday. I came out thinking, you know, that was a good performance, and we played a very good side.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the game, but just disappointed we didn't hang on.
Yeah. Should we go through the roundup stats?
Yeah, sure.
And round it all off. Arsenal draw 2-2 with Liverpool, leaves us 5 points behind Man City and 4 points behind Chelsea as we travel to Chelsea in a few weeks' time. But before that's a trip to Newcastle and St James's Park as well. So pressure to come through all those games, and then you can say you've chalked off a lot of big games and you're in touching distance of the title race. We hope Bournemouth and Brighton could do us some favours with Man City. Go on, the roundup stats.
Yeah, just a few for you this week, James. Arsenal now unbeaten in 5 Premier League games against Liverpool, amassing 9 points, which is 2 more than they had in their previous 14. Which is just so, you know, we are starting to sort of like, you know, in the league anyway, turn that around from where we were against Liverpool a few years ago. Arsenal have now scored 21 headers and 24 set pieces in the Premier League since the start of last season, the best in the league. Nicolas Jova continues to be the man, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And Bukayo Saka became the youngest Arsenal player to score 50 goals in the Premier League, aged 23 years and 52 days. I'll just leave you with this one, actually. I thought this was very interesting. We went into that game without William Saliba, and this is quite interesting. The games with Saliba, 73, 54 wins, 10 draws, 9 loss, 74% win rate. Without Saliba, and this was before yesterday, 11 games, 5 wins, 3 draws, 2 losses, 45.5% win rate. So, we're missing at the moment. We're missing our best defender, Saliba, for that game. We're also missing our best midfielder, Odegaard.
Yeah.
And obviously Saka had been out as well, and he came back not 100% yesterday. But we still, I thought, gave Liverpool a very good game. But we got some very hard away games coming up, James.
Yep.
We've got Newcastle next week, Inter Milan and Chelsea, and we really do need some of these players back.
Yeah. And listen, I'll be furious if we don't get past Preston either. I want silverware. So there we go. Everyone, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Big thanks for joining us here on Tactical Insight. Positives in the draw, but something wasn't quite right in that second half. What was it? Let us know your thoughts. See you soon.